We are starting the recording right now. I want to make sure that you all have enough information to get everything going and that you can rewatch this. I also just want to ask you a quick question. How big is the team that you're working on? Are you a 1 to 2 person team? Are you a 2 to 5 person team? Are you a 10 or more person team? Just gives me a little bit better idea of exactly what information I should be sharing with y'all. Awesome. So a little bit of everything, it looks like. So what we're going to go through today is really our goal is to go through and make sure that you know about the e-marketing system in IQ Office and how to set up those drip marketing campaigns so that they are coming from your team. And I want to make sure that you all know that you can set up drip marketing campaigns for your team and that marketing material. What we will be going through next week in session 3 of the 4-part series are action plans, how to set up your action plans so that when leads come in from the website, there's an action plan for those leads as the team leader distributes them out, as well as how to go in and set up your website and make sure that everybody's profile is up to date. And then in part 4 of the team series, we will be talking about promoting your website and bringing leads into the system through your IQ Office. So that's just a little overview of where we're headed. I want to make sure you all know that. I also really want to encourage you all to ask questions as we go along. So if you have questions, you can either put them in the chat box next to your name, or you can enter them in the question section on the left-hand side of your screen. But I want to make sure if you have questions, you're getting answers. The goal of these as well is to keep these to about 20 to 30 minutes. I know you're all very busy, and I want to make sure that you're getting a lot of information quick enough that you can actually use it and go on with your days. So e-marketing and how to really create the most of the e-marketing, A, the campaigns, and B, the people and making sure that they work correctly. So when you're in your IQ Office, where we're going to start is we are actually going to start as going in and categorizing your contacts. I think that this is a step that oftentimes agents really don't take the time to do. And part of what we run into is people not opening the emails and reading the emails that we're sending. And that really lies in a question of, are you sending valuable content to people? And so really going into your customer relations tab and making sure that you're categorizing both your contacts and your leads. And what I mean by that is that if I open up this contact, here on the right-hand side, there is a contact types button. And as you're going through this, I think it is really important to have multiple contact types. Things like first-time home buyer. You can add that contact type. Maybe it is a homeowner. Maybe they are looking for a relocation. Maybe they are an agent possible referral network. Maybe they're just your nosy neighbor people. But really making sure that you can drill down. Maybe they're interested in a specific neighborhood. So maybe they're really interested in an area called Ponderosa Golf area. But really taking the time to go in and categorizing your people and taking the time to say, okay, this Kelsey is a prospect. They're relocating. They are a homeowner and they are interested in this area, and categorizing people that way. The reason for this is that really best practice says that you need to be in touch with people to be considered part of their sphere about twice a month. And so when you're doing that, it doesn't just mean that you're sending them things and they're getting it. It also means that they're reading it and they're engaging with you. So when we start to dig into this marketing section and start to talk about creating content and creating drip campaigns, you can have a separate drip campaign for every different type of contact. And I think that there's some value in creating those contact types and creating content specifically to that contact type. If I know that client is interested in living in a golf course community, I want to make sure that I'm getting them information about the benefits of homeownership in a golf course community, the different rates for golf, perhaps things that you can do to keep people out of your yard if you're living on a golf course, and things of that nature. So where we're going to start is we're going to start by creating content, because some of this content can be applicable to more than one person. For example, you may have a relocation piece that you build that talks about strategic ways to pack that could go out to all your relocation people, but it also could go out to your first-time home buyers, or it could also go out to your homeowners, and you could use one piece in 3 different spaces. So let's go ahead and create some content. So what I did is I went into marketing, and then I went into my saved content. Whether you click my saved content here underneath print marketing or underneath my saved content, it's the same place. And we're gonna add that content. And really the goal of this is, A, how do you create content? B, how do you create it to a campaign? And C, how do you make it come from the team instead of you, the individual? So that any team member on your team can be creating campaigns and adding content, and it comes from the team. So what we're going to create today is we're actually going to go in and we're going to create perhaps a first-time buyer letter. So I can actually see there's a letter in here, and I can select it as a template, but then I can go in and I can edit all of this information. So I can say, hey, this is going to be a first time, it's my 2019 first time purchase. And I'm going to keep it in the category letters first time buyers. When I highlight over this, so anytime you see something darkened like this and see a pencil in the lower right-hand corner, you can actually edit that contact or that content. So I can see here that it says, hello, contact first name. Now, I personally am not someone that says hello at the very beginning of my emails. That's not how I start most of my emails. I could actually say, hey, and then anything in this dropdown you can add in. So you might have a contact whose name is Margaret, but they go by Peggy. If you have Peggy in their display name, you want to choose the contact display name and choose select. I'm just going to say, hey, Peggy, I was thinking of you and your journey to home ownership. It is a daunting and exciting process. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to make this content what I want it to be. I can say anything that I want. I can give her a list of tips. There's actually a lot of research out there that people love list things. So if I were giving a first-time home buyer a list of things that I would recommend, it would be things like, as you're driving around neighborhoods, notice the number of cars in the driveways. It can be a good indicator of whether homeowners or renters live in the area. Try to visit the neighborhoods that you like during different times of the day over the next 10 weeks so you can decide if it's really a good fit. Here's a link to some Yelp reviews on area restaurants that I really think are great. And as you're looking for homes, know that when you walk in the front door, if it doesn't feel right in the first 2 minutes, it's probably not the house for you, and we should move on to the next house. So think about those things that you're telling your clients and you're talking to them about and coaching your team on to talk to people about, so that your clients are set up for success and that all the members on your team have the same information. A lot of times we forget what we don't know. And it becomes a matter of really making sure that we're engaging and we're getting that information out. Once I put all my information in here, I can also insert my signature. I can say from my agent, but there's also this section that says from agent team. And when I do that, it puts in my agent team information. Yeah, just a sec, Barb. I'll go back through that. So once you're done with all of it, you're going to click OK, and then be sure you always click Save. So as we get into this, just to review where we went there. So Barb, we went into marketing, and then we went into my saved content. And then I added new content up here in the right-hand corner. And as you're adding new content, there's a drop-down that allows you to pull from some templates that either we have made it realistic or that your company has made. So underneath that category, I went into and I found letters for recent buyers or first-time buyers. It's all here underneath it, but you have to create the content first. So once you've actually gone in and created that content, you can start to build campaigns based on contact type. And you don't have an add new content here in the upper right-hand corner. Barb, I'm going to come back to your questions because I want to make sure that the other people on here are getting it. So let me come back to you. I don't want you to feel slighted, but I want to make sure that you're getting all this information, and I've got some time that we can make sure that we get you all situated. So underneath the marketing and my campaigns is where you can start to build that content. So I can actually go in and I can create a campaign based on contact types. As a team leader, as people are entering their contacts in and talking to the leads that you're giving them and you're having them work, it is very important that you have them categorize their people so that you can make sure that they are getting the right information. I'm going to go in, I'm going to name this campaign. I'm going to name this campaign something like homeowner campaign. If I were adding people to this campaign and adding people into this, I would add everybody that I knew that was a homeowner who I had contact information for. And then I'm going to choose my first piece of content. It makes it really easy to do that when you've created content. So underneath content type, you can choose my content. And underneath all, you could go to your letters first time buyer or your letters for personal content. Or you can go to the Vicki Blair group. So however you've categorized that when you made the content, you can actually go in and share that content. You don't have to create the content from scratch. I then can select that information. Now I'm going to create all the information about that first email. So I might say, welcome to the team. And I'm going to send it using a couple different options. So you can either have something go out every day of the week. So you could have something that maybe was something that needed to go out weekly, like a reminder about logging into your portal over the weekend. Like, hey, new properties always come up over the weekend. Make sure it's Tuesday. Make sure you're checking it in your portal to get updated listings or something like that. That would be an example of using day of the week. It's the same information. It's just a simple reminder checking in with people. Transaction date is going to be based on a transaction that you've done with them and in an interval from a transaction date. Interval means, hey, I want this to go out on like the second day after they're added to the campaign. So you could have an interval campaign for first-time buyers that once they were added to the campaign, it went out on the first day, the third day, the 8th day, the 12th day, and you'd set up your events like that. And you also could do holidays, birthdays, or months. So it would go out on the first day of the month. You also could choose a date. So I could say, hey, this is pertinent information about an open house this weekend. This obviously is not that, but I want to email everybody on that Friday before the open house. So for the sake of this letter, I'm just going to say, hey, I want it to go out on an interval. If you want it to be active, leave the status as active. And please don't be a robot and send things out after midnight. You want to send them out when people are actually reading their emails. So I would say between 7:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. is a good rule of thumb for when that happens. So I'm going to say, hey, I want this to go out at 11 o'clock in the morning, right before lunch, so that when they're on lunch, they're reading their personal email. This override section means that as the team, everything can come from the team. So I could say override name from the Victoria Blair group. And the override email address is that team email address that you have. Maybe you have something that's like team@VictoriaBlair. So that it is actually coming from the team to your consumers. Just a quick note on that. I've been doing some researching on teams and how to set them up in a way that's efficient and how the consumer perceives them in a business that is so personal. And I think that we all need to really make sure that if we're the team leader, so if you are the team leader, and how many team leaders are on this call? If you're, let's actually find that out. I'm just going to poll you all right now. Are you a team leader or are you a team member? Don't everybody vote at the same time. So I've got one member, one leader, a couple other members, a couple other leaders. So it's a good mix on here. So two things. Real estate's a super personal thing, and they may have come to the group because they like the team leader, because the team leader is doing all the work. And the team leader has really refined that lead capture process. It is very important that the consumer feels two things. One, that the team leader connects with them. I'm going to say three things. I'm going to change it to three things. Two, that the team member also is connecting with them on an equal way. And three, that there's a valuable relationship between the team leader and the team member, and that you are working together for the success of the client. So when you're sending things out to the client, especially marketing pieces, you need to make sure that you're doing it as a cohesive group that likes each other, not as I'm a team member and I'm here because I have to be, or I'm a team leader and I'm doing it my way because I'm the team leader and I want my name on everything. The consumer experience is the one that really matters. And so being a good team leader and a good team member and having a good relationship to take care of the client is really something that's important. So as you're doing your marketing pieces, it is important that you're coming from the group. Maybe you don't even do the Victoria Blair group, but maybe you do something like override from email name, and it's from Victoria and Kelsey. And you're putting your actual names in there, so your actual people, and the consumer knows who you are and what's going on. So then what you're going to do is you're going to click next. You only want to save changes for that event, and you have an option to add recipients here, or you can add them after the fact. So I can actually go in and I can add recipients by contact type. So I could say, hey, this is a first-time home buyer campaign. I want all my first-time home buyers on there. Then I click finish. If I want to then see that event, I can go down and I can say, hey, my homeowner campaign, what's going on? Here's my event. I can see what recipients are on here. I can always add recipients to this group, and I can see the contact types that are included. So that is how you go in and you create a campaign that comes out. Every event that you create, you're going to want to make sure comes from the team. So you go into event, and again, that override button, so the override from email and override from email address become very important, because then every piece of marketing material is coming out from the team. I also just want to touch on how often you should be emailing people. And I really believe that it depends on the type of client. I think that first-time home buyers or potential first-time home buyers need to see and hear from you a lot more frequently than your past clients do. All the research I've done, though, says to gain your sphere and to feel like you're in a sphere with someone twice a month. People need to hear from you twice a month, usually once via email and usually once via text or social media. The other thing I want to talk about is frequency of information. So you also on your site have underneath marketing, you have this section that is called the blog section. So you can actually create something like a newsletter, or if you have 5 tips for a first-time home buyer and you're creating content to email out, that's also really great content to share on your blog that helps out with your search engine optimization. So last week we went through how to create that blog in the system and have it accessible by teams. I'm just going to open it up and show you. So I can actually say, this is the most awesome real estate blog. I can say, I can add my users allowed to post based on my team members so that all of your team members have access to post on your blog. And if I were running a team, I would say that your team members need to be responsible for 1 piece of content a week, whether that is maybe a new listing or information about the area, or maybe they tried a new restaurant, but it needs to be something about where you live and about what they're doing in business. How many of you watch HGTV? Let's see. There's a few on the call. So Julia, Stephanie, Sarah, John. How many of you are watching HGTV? Just say, yes, I watch it in the chat box, or no, I don't watch it. So Barb watches it. I watch it like a fiend. Yep. So I used to really struggle with what to write. And I found, John, do you have to watch it with your wife or your significant other? Do you get forced into it? So I make my husband watch oh, good. I'm glad you like it. My husband thinks that I'm crazy. I love Chip and Joanna Gaines. I love them. And so I watch all their stuff all the time. And I think that when you're in a place where there's a writer's block, realizing that people really like things like Property Brothers and Chip and Joanna Gaines, and they're talking about decorating ideas or, maximizing space and things like that, you can gain a lot of things that consumers want to hear about by actually watching what HGTV is talking about. Because if HGTV is talking about converting older homes and what that renovation cost is, you have an insight into your market as to how many of these older homes are there. What areas might people look for if they're looking for a rehab? What are construction costs like in your area? And doing just a quick, 800 words or lists of things to look for, and what does good bones mean in Michigan versus good bones in Arizona, because they are very different things. In Arizona, you want to make sure the heat's not getting in, and in Michigan, you want to make sure that the heat's not getting out. And so I think taking some time to look at that and how to apply it to your market is a really beneficial thing and can give you and your team members something to talk about. Consumers also love to consume it, and you can easily share from your blog to Facebook. So as you're creating content, and you're creating content for those client types, know that you can also be using that content on your blog, and then from your blog, sharing it to your social media. And the benefit of that is really that people have to see things more than once to get it. You're going to reach people where they are. So if they are people who read email, awesome. If they are people who read blogs, awesome. If they're people that you only interact with on Facebook, awesome. And you can be reaching them a multitude of ways and getting them good quality information. I think these days we forget about how important it is to reach people where they are. We live in a land of convenience where everybody wants it to be one click. And we all know that home buying will never be that one click. But if you're providing value before they need you, it will create a loyalty to you and your team. And I think asking all members of your team to participate in that is a really valuable thing. So what I'm going to do now is I just want to show you the best way to do this. And it's a little bit tricky, I've found. So I actually would go into marketing and I would go into my saved content. And if I wanted to post a listing flyer on my blog, I would go in to edit the information. And these two little carrots on the right hand or upper left hand corner, if I click there and I select all of this and Control C, it will copy everything in that box. And you can do this for any kind of content. What's really cool is then if I go to my blog and I add an entry. So I'm going to create my first entry. I have the same little source code here, and I can just Control V and paste that code, and it actually just pastes the whole flyer in that blog for me. And I could say something like hot new listing for best area ever. I can add a featured image. Something like, hey, I want to have maybe you want to have a house. Let's see. Like I have a Chip and Joanna file on there. Chip and Joanna. Oop. So I could say like, hey, spring cleaning. 5 best ways to beat cabin fever. I put that image in. It shows that here. And then you click save. And now you've got the listing flyer that you did is actually showing on your blog, is emailed out to all your people who are in that price range, is getting shared to your Facebook and your social media and linking it back to your blog. It's also helping your search engine optimization. And it's all coming from the team standpoint because I'm on the team blog that's linked to my team page that is really enhancing my relationship with my clients. So they know that just not me, Kelsey, but maybe I've got John and Janet and Barb on my team, and all of them are contributing as well. And my clients are not just my clients, but they're our clients. And they know that John brings something to the table and Janet brings something to the table and Barb brings something to the table, and that we're all working cohesively to really add a great experience to those clients. So just to review today, kind of where we went over, because we're right at that half-hour mark. We started underneath customer relations and my contacts, making sure that our contacts were categorized so we could get them the right information. So we clicked on the contact and we made sure that underneath contact type that they had the right tags. If I wanted to add a contact type, I was clicking the edit button next to contact type, typing it in and pushing plus add contact type. I then went into marketing, my saved content, and created content that I could apply to my different contacts and my different contact types. I did that by clicking plus add content in the upper right-hand corner. Then I went through and went to marketing my campaigns and created campaigns based on my contact types. When I added events to my campaign, I made sure that I was choosing to send from an override email name that it was either my team name or my team member's name, as well as the team email address. It was then adding recipients based on contact type. I can click contact type and I could say, hey, I need this to go to my homeowner type. The last thing I was doing underneath marketing was going to my team real estate blog that I set up and sharing information on the blog and asking my team members to also share once a week. The nice thing about that is that you're getting information out to everybody. So if you have a team that is 5 to 10, you're getting 5 to 10 posts a week. If you have a team that's 2 to 5, you're getting 2 to 5 posts a week. If you're a team that's 1 to 2, you're still getting up to 2 posts a week, which honestly is probably more than most agents are doing anyway. So really using the utility of your team and using that resource of what's on HGTV, what are consumers looking for, typing in the Google bar, going to Google and saying, moving to Houston, and seeing what comes up. Okay, moving to Houston. People want to know clearly living costs and relocation tips, 11 people why people are moving. Is it right for you? Like these are things that people want to know about, or they would not be in the top search results. So going through and making sure you're doing some research and talking about those things that people are looking for. A good thing to do is to type what you think someone would type into Google. Buying a house in Houston. Okay. 2019 best places to buy a house in the Houston area. First time buying a house, simple guide of what to expect. This is what consumers are reading about. Give them what they want. Google's a great tool. Any questions or comments? We're just at about 35 after the hour. I want to make sure that you have enough information that you can go and you can start working on things. I also want to make sure that I am not going too long so that you actually have some time to work on some things. How many of you are actually using the blog function for your team? Not yet. Yeah. So I think people forget that that blog is such a great way to add information for the team and to have everybody else's voice heard, because everybody on your team has a little bit different style, and it's a great way to express the different styles of your team member, but still be a cohesive team. How many of you have a team Facebook page? That you're all contributing to a team, one team page socially. So John, what I would say is I would create the content and send it out. So I wouldn't send out my blog to people. That's a really good point. So I would not send out my blog to people. I would send emails directly to my client base with the content that I've created. However, I would use that same content on my blog. So if I went in and I created this content, so I said, hey, I've got this content. I created a listing flyer. I created a newsletter. I created a top 5 things you need to do. I would be putting it both places. And the reason for this is twofold. One, it goes to your consumers' emails and you're reaching people that you already know. And two, if you're creating the content, you might as well maximize the value and use it both places, because having blog content posted on a regular basis will help increase your search engine optimization. That then will help you generate more leads and brand awareness for your team in the marketplace. And you can easily then link your blog to a social media place that can create a lead capture link that way as well. Does that answer your question? Awesome. I'm glad that you're all using a team Facebook or social media and you have all your team members on there. That's really good. That makes me feel like I've got the A+ team members here. Really, the goal is, how do you get content out? If you're making and you're spending time doing content, I don't want to just email the people I know with that content, because granted, I want to reach them. I want to provide them value, but I also want to reach the people who, I have that might not know me, but might find what I'm doing valuable and might find the information I can get them something that they like, and they're going to pick me, and they're going to email me and say, hey, John, I saw your blog post. I found you online through your blog post. It seems like your team has a really good feel and a lot of great information. Can we sit down and talk about listing my house? Can we sit down and talk about relocating? Janet, I'm an agent. I was looking for someone. It seems like you really keep up to date on your social media, and your blogging and your website is really up to date. You actually post all the time. I don't know how you do it all, but it seems like if you can do that, you could take care of my contacts. It's about presenting yourself and your team as a cohesive unit, reaching people where they are, and letting people know that you care enough to keep your website up to date and you're getting them valuable content. I get super excited about this stuff. I hope you all are excited as I am about this stuff. So I don't have any other information. So yeah, great question. I'm glad I can show you this. So I can actually show you I know that she has a blog. So here's a blog that she's doing, and you can actually share it right from here. So I can say, hey, I want to read this. And right from here, you can say, I want to share it on Facebook. And when I do that, it's going to say, okay, here's the blog post. I can say something about it, and you can share it. You would have to do it, Janet, but honestly, what I would do is I would just say, like, once a week, I'm going to go in and I'm going to schedule it to go out. Like, hey, great updates on my blog this week. And wanted to make sure that I could share that all with you. So do you all know that you can schedule posts? Okay, perfect. John, you can find it on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook page. I'll find the link and I'll message it to you quick. But you can actually go to your business page and you can schedule. So if I say, hey, I want to post something, I would just paste my blog post here. And then I would say, okay, I want to schedule this out. And I'm going to say, hey, blog's updated. And I would just set that for like once every week, once every 2 weeks to keep people abreast that you're updating that blog and that that's what's going out. John, let me find that YouTube link for you real quick. And I will message it to you on my channel. Let's see, Teams, share, copy. So here you go. So can you copy a Facebook post to the blog? Are you talking about like this, John? So like, hey, I want to take this post and put it on my blog. Yeah, so I could say, let's see. I don't know if I can do it with someone else's. Let's look at my posts. So if I said, hey, I've been cleaning out my house. So I want to share, holy moly. Maybe I want to share this on my blog. I think if it's something that you posted, you can. Let's see. Yeah, so here you see where it says copy and paste this code into your website. So you hit Control-Alt, Control-C. And then when we went into marketing, we went into Awesome Blog and we added an entry. New. This is the source code. I would just paste that code here. And now that Facebook post is embedded. So again, how I did that is I went in to the post I wanted to embed, clicked on the 3 little dots, clicked embed, copied the code, and then I went in, I added the source code in. You have to add it into the source code. Because if I just paste it here, like if I just paste it, it just is gobbledygook code, which nobody can actually read. So you have to put it in the source code, but you absolutely can. So people can know that you're active on Facebook. Super slick. Other questions? You all have been great today. This was super fun. I'm so glad that you had such good questions. And I hope it was really helpful. I really want to see you all be able to build and grow your team successfully and strategically. And I think having that team front of different personalities, but a united front for customer service really helps. And IQ really wants to make it so that you all can talk to your customers in a way that's authentic and true, and everybody has a voice and you're working together as a team. All righty, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. I also want you to know it takes about a half hour for this video to render. And I will be posting it on Facebook and on YouTube, and it will also get emailed out to you. So it's coming. And thank you so much for participating. We'll see you next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And I think some of you are part of the Realogy group. So if you're going to be in Vegas next week, shoot me a message. I'll be in Vegas at the event. So I'd love to see y'all. You're welcome, Janet and Barb and John. I'm so glad y'all could come. Bye.